if any business doesn't go well, 99% of the people will say it's a failure. It doesn't mean because you're not going well, it's a failure. It's how much you can take that it makes it something that you would stop. So if you can manage those expectations and you always can find solutions for the problems.
We speak today to Stefanos Nicolaou, the founder and CEO of Consultix, about his entrepreneurship journey, his inspiration from Walt Disney, and what to watch out for in the near future. Hello, it's so good to have you here on the show with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate your time.
So you're the founder and CEO of Consultix. Can you tell me a little bit about the company and the different projects?
Yeah. So basically, Consultix has been founded in 2013, registered in 2014. So our journey started simply because I was living in the Middle East. So I lived in Dubai, I lived in Qatar, I lived in Saudi Arabia, I lived in Lebanon, Jordan. So I'm pretty much very familiar with the region, with the culture, and really like and love the culture and the people there because of its multinational, orientation, but also its entrepreneurship, which also inspired me into making the company. So basically, in 2013, I had thought of the idea of helping companies diversify, as we call them, to the Middle East, and then 1 + 1 came together. So mainly the inspiration of the region, but also the Walt Disney story, which is mainly my motto on trying to make greatness out of what we do, is what we defined as a company going forward.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about the different projects you're involved in?
Yeah, basically I have a lot of projects which we are involved. Consultix is a company that is very diverse in the way we do business and what projects we have, but very complementary between each other. So we are mainly involved in 4 main business lines. The most important for us and the biggest that we have is the diversification of businesses to the Middle East. This is involved companies which are mainly in the Western world, which want to, penetrate the market. The second business line is in marketing and communication. The third business line is in business transformation, of basically how can business grow, or we show them that path towards growth. And then the last business line is in sports. So the main projects that we're working on is that we are also working with Euronews. It's the biggest media company, one of the biggest media companies in Europe. We are helping them diversify, not within the region, but in Cyprus, because of a whole transitional, initiative that's happening on the island here. But we have businesses which is working. We are trying to bring some legal firms in Saudi Arabia now. We are trying to open in UAE, make it more impactful with our presence. In Qatar, we already have an office. We have a local presence there. And we're working on bringing as many businesses up as possible. I'm also the president of the Cyprus Qatar Association within the Chamber of Commerce. So this means that whichever businesses are really, inspired or want to move their business operations or even look for an opportunity within the region, this is what we do. So it could be from FMCG, it could be from legal framework, it could be from accounting. We have also accounting businesses which are looking into the Middle East. We have diversified them. We have other businesses in construction. So it could be really diverse in the portfolio of businesses.
So if you had to describe Consultix in one sentence, what would that sentence be?
Basically, if I want to describe Consultix in one sentence, I can say it in more simple words. It's we are thought leaders in the area of business that we're involved in. So whatever we do it with thought leadership. Thought leadership is our main motive of what we do.
Okay, that's great. That's wonderful. So you've lived in so many places across the Gulf. Which one has been your favorite place to live in?
That's a good question. And also, Well, it's a tricky one as well, because I don't want to, give a sentiment that one country is better than the other, or one is not better than the other. But every place that I stayed was exceptionally nice. The most important thing is the connections that I have made, the friends, the business associates, and everything around that culture is inspired from trust and also family values. So I think this is a common factor between those countries that I have lived in. But I could say that very exciting, UAE in its formation when I was living there was quite exceptional as well. Qatar, in the beginning of its new vision to 2030, was also very inspiring on how things evolved pretty fast. Saudi Arabia was a total power, machine that the way I say to everybody, whatever you want to sell in Saudi, you can do it in a highly impactful way if you're good in what you do, and it really works, the market works for you. So there's a lot of homogeneous population which think alike, and also they do things in a very similar way, that it could be an opportunity. But also if you look towards the West, Lebanon and Jordan, completely different context, but totally, very entrepreneurship and very business-oriented people that have learned a lot during the last 20 years.
So how did you get entrepreneurship? Was this something that was always part of your plan?
Yeah, again, a great question. Actually, entrepreneurship was never part of my plan. I was in the corporate world in a way, through different circumstances. Sometimes when you're pushed to a different direction, then you think of the world in a different way. When I became an entrepreneur, I thought I knew everything before I became an entrepreneur, but everything changed from the moment that I had to engage with people in the real world. So the real world is the one that I see today. The real world is talking to real businesses, talking to people on the ground, startups, big organizations, everything that is changing in our world. We see what's going on across the globe. So it's a matter of actually not planning, but mostly being adaptable to the changing world. So I think entrepreneurship taught me a lot on that. And that's the motive that actually made things more real to me of becoming an entrepreneur in the future state.
Okay, great. So, this is a question I actually love to ask everyone. So what has been in this entire journey, what has been the biggest challenge for you that you've had to overcome? And on the other side, what has been your biggest achievement so far?
I think I'll start with the challenge. So the biggest challenge, I guess, is sustainability. Being able to perform what you say. That's a very, very important step in the business. So I guess having walk the talk is a lot of our motive around the business. It's also in whatever I have mentioned before, but walk the talk is totally important for me. So if I go and position myself as an expert in something, I have to make sure that I can deliver what I'm saying. In many cases, not everything is 100% clear. We are talking about being involved with people, and being involved with people means that there's a lot of change through the process. So having the background of how you adapt to that process and making sure that you can deliver what you're saying is the biggest challenge towards the business, which is also exciting because it makes it more motivating, and it's a never-ending story. There's never a journey. There's never a destination. It's always a journey. Yeah. So I think from an accomplishment perspective, there's a lot of things. The fact that I'm sitting here and talking to you, I believe it's an accomplishment. The fact that I have lived in so many countries around the globe, it's an accomplishment. The Middle East, I have talked about the Middle East, but I have traveled to India, I have traveled to the US, I have traveled to a lot of countries across the globe, which makes me, you become more evident and makes you understand how real entrepreneurship is, and also how people are very, very similar in many ways, but culturally different in different ways. But that's not the burden when doing business. You just need to be acceptable of those cultural differences in order for you to sustain yourself wherever you want to go. And also the motto, as we talked about it before, keeping that motto, but most importantly, walk the talk. Walk the talk, I think, is a global language that people like to hear and like to do. From let's say a project perspective, I think one of the greatest achievements is having 2 offices across the globe. We had 3, now we are 2. Another accomplishment is the fact that we took really big brands in Saudi Arabia. We have invented things in the local market that has transitioned the marketing scene when it comes to the football industry on the island. Also, now that I'm thinking just out loud, one of my biggest accomplishments was inspiring people to work with me, and also those people moving towards their career path and becoming bigger than what I am. And I think that's one of the biggest accomplishments I have managed to do till today.
Yeah, that's great. I think they say, the passing the light sort of. There was a mention on the website about business recoded and why you would need to recode. Is that something that you can explain to me, that concept?
So basically the concept of recoding is what we're trying to do is, again, based on the aspiration, right? So how can we recode the way of doing business? So if you go into a session with us, or we usually do workshops, to understand whoever is opposite us or next to us, or whichever company we partner, we usually say that we partner with businesses, and we want to recode the way they think of the business world, the way they think of thought leadership. So it's about what you know and how you can be different in a very changing environment and adaptable and to adapt to this world. So I think recoding and taking that is inspired by Peter Fisk. Peter Fisk is actually one of the global innovation leaders across the globe. So we took that, and after his permission, because I know Peter Fisk is very well known in the business world. How does business recode itself across the ever-changing world? So that's why we use his facts and we use the statistics there in order to address those differences and challenges that we want to inspire and also transition businesses towards the world. Yeah. So we need to understand a bit more. We need to understand a bit more today in order to do. We shouldn't do before we understand what's happening, and that's what we actually do. Yeah.
Okay, that's beautiful. So can you tell me about Consultix unique product offerings? I see that you have a list of products. So what are those products that you all have?
Yeah, look, with Consultix, I think it's more on services, but the product base that we come here and there and we try to offer is basically we assess the needs of the market. For example, we had created a ticketing system that will help businesses, send their requests and also minimize the time of communication, minimize the time of emails. I think it's not a rocket science thing, but it's a need of the market. So we thought during the lockdown and during COVID, rather than sitting stagnant, how can we change and adapt, like I mentioned before? So one product was creating the ticketing system, which we have it for our clients. Our clients log in, they give us all the requests, and we just do it automated. This is number one. Number two is, I believe the second one was regarding the signature, So basically it's an automated signature, which again, it was inspired of how can we get more information simply from yourself or from your signature email rather than getting business cards. So we kind of made it multifunctional and utilizing like 5-6 utilization links in which we can get more information across time. This is what we try to do. So, I mean, these are low-hanging fruits. We don't really sell them. We really use them for our clients. And so it's a benefit for them rather than selling them. But our services is what we focus, and our services is what we have in our brain based on our experience across the world. Okay,
great. So can you tell me now what your service flow is like? So you can use our brand Asian Herald as an example, and can you outline, like, from the first virtual meeting up to the goals that we achieved? So what would that look like for us?
Yeah, basically, if we look at the everything we do utilizing business process improvements. So basically, it's BPI. So we use a lot of Lean and Six Sigma. Lean and Six Sigma. I was totally inspired from a previous, work experiences that I had in my career, and it's also inspired by what I mentioned before on thought leadership. So if you take that into context, everything has to be in a way that one can follow a flow, that it can be measurable, but also it can be, let's say, you can have some kind of KPI, you can have some kind of measurement in order to say if this process that you use was actually impactful for your business. So the first thing we do after we do the letter of engagement, we do the contractual agreement with the client, we move into a 3 to 5 day workshop, which we try to uncover and understand. You mentioned it also before, decode the business, understand those bespoke opportunities when it comes to the business, and then we try to navigate through giving a proposition, which is the strategic plan and also the strategic calendar of how we will proceed going forward. Then the next step, once we finish that process, we actually sit with the business and we put a timeline and a milestone plan, as we call it, on when we will do what and how. So it becomes like an engineering project, but it's an engineering project for the business as well. So we don't go too technical, but we go mostly impactful. So we think of how can we grow rather than how can we do. And then we try to eliminate processes which will waste time, and we focus on the end goal. The end goal is growth and impact, and what is your, value proposition? What is your standard value proposition that you're offering to the business, to the markets that you want to diversify to, for example, in the Middle East? So in your case, what we would do, we would understand your business. The second thing, how can we differentiate? What is the impactful solution there? How can we leverage from other businesses or other clients that we had? And then how can we bring business to you by introducing that main pillar, which is the other side of the world, of having that solution through your business, which is needed on the other side.
So, I mean, you're someone who's worked on both sides. So you've started off as a field manager, if I'm not wrong, and you've gone to become the director, and then now you're the CEO of your own company. So you've been both an employer and employee. So can you tell me what are the big differences between both these sides, and probably weigh out the pros and cons?
Yeah, of course. Great question. I mean, from one side, I think everybody has to take that journey. If you don't go into a institutional, I would call it an institutional framework of understanding and feeling that there's there's that exposure of the world towards yourself, I think it's hard to anticipate the entrepreneurship world. So when I say institutionalized, when I say exposure of the world, you have to be put in an arena in which a lot of information comes to you. When a lot of information comes to you from different parts of the world, and you have that, you start triggering the information through the thought process in which you can break down and you can analyze, and then you can actually make a global impact. That's when you start thinking, okay, I can actually start thinking of moving to my own business. But if I'm going to go to my own business, I have some kind of value proposition. So it has to become even better of what you used to do in the, let's say, institutionalized world, in the corporate world, in the big industries. They're like universities in the end of the day. You learn a lot. You can be very loyal to them. And it's great, and they have great programs. I think my education through time was huge, My exposure through time was huge. Entrepreneurship is about persistence. It's about being dedicated to what you do. And there is a lot of failures rather than success stories. So the failures are more than the success stories. The disappointments are definitely more than the success stories. But one success story can actually trigger the whole journey for the way forward. So it's how you look at life. I'm a very positive person in nature. So I think that everything plays a role. Your family, the people who support you, everything that happens every day is part of this journey. In the corporate world, or let's say if you work under an employer, probably you don't see these things. You cannot evidently understand them sometimes. You think you are indestructible. You think that you're untouchable. But in the end of the day, I believe that it's totally an inverse proportion of what the experience is in both sides.
It's sort of like being pushed in the deep end and then just learning to swim that way.
Exactly. And I guess to your last point about the pros of both sides. One side is learning curve. The other side, basically, what you know and how you grow is totally 100% based on you and your knowledge and your understanding of the world. So if you sit back and relax, nothing will come to you. You need to be a step ahead in order to work. So this is the pros between each side.
Yeah, I think it's about if you want to get into entrepreneurship, you have to get out of your comfort zone a little.
For sure. Yeah. I think there's no comfort zone. There's no comfort zone in entrepreneurship. I don't see any comfort zone in entrepreneurship. It's you have to be just all the time on the go. It's part of the DNA of entrepreneurship.
So what about the pandemic? Has it had any impact on your business, like positive or negative?
Yeah, with COVID, we had a negative impact to our business. Negative impact, which I see it always as an opportunity. I don't like to use the word negative. It's an opportunity. Simply because the region, the Middle East, is about interaction. It's about meeting people face to face. Probably the online does work now more than before, but it's not the ultimate, tool that will make the business that we are offering to clients. So from the moment that I couldn't travel or cannot travel to the region, it obviously put some challenging hurdles there. Also from the marketing and communication perspective, because we do a lot of marketing for businesses locally, so that's a different arm of the business. The budgets in the first year, because of uncertainty, it's the first thing that people, businesses will cut. So we had to step back a bit and wait or rethink of what we were going to do. Different opportunities came through. We actually took advantage of those opportunities, but now we're obviously bouncing back pretty strong.
What, according to you, trends in this field that you're in, and probably the skills to watch out for? So if someone's looking to upskill, what skills should they have before entering this field?
Okay, so with regards to our business, I believe our business is very niche. The reason why it's very niche, it's simply because there's a lot of risk associated to it. So why do I mean the risk? If businesses come and engage with us, contractually, we are supposed to provide opportunities from the markets. So we present those opportunities to them. So in a different world, those opportunities, they have to contract with these clients of ours. So it means that if we don't introduce opportunities, it means that contractually we are not abiding by the terms and conditions. So that's a niche, that's a risk. So we take the client by the hand, we change them, we adapt them to the region, and then we bring them business. So we step up front. So in order to do this, you have to be able to be very convincing. You have to be able to connect the dots. I think connecting the dots is also on our website. It's one of our many mottos, connecting the dots is very important. It could be very taboo in many businesses, but in my case, I believe in it or not. How did something that happened last year, I can remember it and put it in context this year, which I will give a business opportunity to a business that's engaging or contracting with us. Yeah. So that's very important. So to your question, in order to be able to go the path that we are going, you have to be really understanding of how the region and the world is behaving, being able to foresee the opportunities, and then by seeing the opportunities, you can present them and you can actually go to both sides and say that you have this need, this is the supplier of the need, this is what the value proposition is, and this is the reason why this supply should go with the need, and you bring them together. So it's not about only introducing, but actually taking them through the path. For the skill set, I believe the most important, it's about listening.
Okay.
Not hearing. Listening, not hearing. It's two different things. Yeah. So if you listen to your clients and you can de-encrypt the information there, and you understand the region and you de-encrypt that part of the world, then you can actually provide a very good proposition to your clients.
Okay, interesting. So what do you think are the reason that a few businesses fail? What sort of things are they doing to set them up for failure?
Okay, failure again is a very broad word, because if any business doesn't go well, 99% of the people will say it's a failure. It doesn't mean because you're not going well, it's a failure. It's how much you can take that it makes it something that you will stop. So if you can manage those expectations and you always can find solutions for the problems at that moment of time, because entrepreneurship is about also a lot of shortcomings. So how do you, if a punch comes to you, how can you manage it at that point of time? When you're in a bigger enterprise, that's not there. It's never there. It's managed by a bigger system, which is protecting that that infrastructure. So failure is just that you need to be very resistant, and you have to be very persistent, and that you can actually if the road is straight and you have to turn right or left, you have to make that move quite fast, and then you have to think of the consequences of who will it affect. In some cases, it affects employees. Some employees need to leave. In other cases, it affects, budgetary-wise, it affects your growth. That's always part of the deal. So whatever plans you actually had in mind, those will always change. They cannot be stagnant. Probably 20 years ago, 25 years ago, could have been an easier world. Those plans could work out. Today, with the changing world, those plans cannot even stay into perspective.
So do you have any advice specifically for aspiring entrepreneurs, young aspiring entrepreneurs?
For young entrepreneurs, it's first have the idea. If you have the idea, if you put it in action and you're behind the action point, then it's bound to succeed at some point. But you always have to have your upper and lower limit, as we say. There's an upper and lower limit in everything we do. There is a red line and a red line on the bottom part, which you need to put the threshold. There is cases which you won't make it financially, so you need to see what you want to do there. There is many solutions for that. Sometimes there's no solutions, and you just need to say that this is not working. I have to let it go, and I have to move to something else. That, in my mind, that question has happened more than 100 times. I think it's time to move something else. And then out of this world, something changes, and then something comes to me, and then we keep on going. So it's great, and it happens. So know your upper and lower limits, number one. Know what you want to achieve, and stick with a plan.
Okay.
And the plan is adjustable to what it wants, what that plan should be. So you can adjust it as you go along. So it's a live document, as we call it. And the most important for me is try to eliminate noise. There is a lot of external noise. If you eliminate noise, it will help you in becoming an entrepreneurship. Noise could be family, it could be relatives, it could be advisors, it could be people who have not experienced what you experienced. So how can somebody give you advice if they haven't experienced what you have went through? That's my very important piece of advice. So whoever is opposite you, giving you advice, just understand where they came from. If it's somebody who had something to give you and inspire you, yes. But if it's somebody that, for example, has not traveled to the Middle East, I'll give you an example for me, has not even stepped into a plane, does not know where on the map the Middle East is, they cannot tell me if my idea about the Middle East is good or bad. Yeah? Something on those lines. Because most of the people want to give advice, but they don't have the tools to actually provide the right advice to the people.
Yes, I've learned a lot during this interview. It was such an interesting talk and so nice speaking to you, Stefanos.
Thank you so much for considering me. Thank you.